Muhammad Umar Farooq biological video. Please make sure to subscribe, like and share. Ask the question for answer and comment about the artwork. You can also answer question to each other for solving the problem. Here today we will discuss about the renin angiotensin system or RAS or renin angiotensin aldosterone system. So the aldosterone use, so it is endocrine system. It is a hormone system that regulates blood pressure and fluid and electrolyte balance. So there's balancing of electrolyte as well as systemic vascular pressure, which that is resistance, and that's create the level and balance of the blood pressure in the vascular system. So let's begin to talk and understand about the renin angiotensin system. So the renin is produced from the juxtaglomerular cell of the nephron into the glomerulus. So that the juxtaglomerular cell will be produced. So here I am drawing the structure of the human body, which contain a renin angiotensin system contain the organ which they are used for it. So here is the blood vessel that arise from the aortic arch and descending aorta and descending aorta going to the renal blood flow. And here is the kidney, which has two and pair of adrenal gland is also present in the upper side of the kidney. On the other hand, here is the liver and here is the lung, and that is the heart. So it means the liver is also used for it to um, produce the mechanism for this. And last we will talk about the pituitary gland is here. So this pituitary gland is made up of three lobe. For example, one is the diffuse, not correct. So adenohypophysis and neurohypophysis, and that is the pituitary gland. On the upper side of the pituitary gland is the hypothalamus, and above is the thalamus. So the hypothalamus used to corticotropin releasing factor is the endocrine neurosecretory endocrine system, which that secrete the corticotropin releasing hormone to the anterior pituitary adenohypophysis to release the positive effect of the adenocorticotropic releasing hormone, which that stimulate the adrenal gland to produce aldosterone as well as other hormone, for example cortisol. So that's all thing is done, and that's aldosterone is uh, due to the uptake of sodium and water. So that is the positive effect of backflow of the sodium and um, water from the nephron. So that is a positive effect. On the other hand, here is the artery, vein, and ureter are present in the kidney, and that is the basically urinary system used for the excretion or waste into the blood, which that excrete through the nephron, which that is the unit of the kidney, which release the ammonia and urea, and uric acid is the slight amount, but urea is most. On the other hand, salt is also released and acid. So here is the nephron, which contain a Bowman capsule, and here is the proximal convoluted tubule, and that is the descending loop of Henle and ascending loop of Henle, and that's a distal convoluted tubule, as well as the collecting duct, which that's collect the fluid containing water. So the basically hypertonic solution will be formed when collecting duct. So here is the efferent arteriole, which that is carry the blood toward the Bowman capsule, and which that is form the glomerulus, and here is the glomerulus. And that's efferent arteriole, which that is used for the reabsorption. So the reabsorption is that's affect the renin, which that is released from the juxtaglomerular cell for contraction, for vasopressin system. So that is here is the um, efferent arteriole which that is used if there is the when efferent arteriole will be contract, it means the blood pressure of the efferent arteriole will be low. So that's low blood pressure will be allowed to absorb more ions. So remember about that. On the other hand, here is the prorenin, which that is we come from the juxtaglomerular cell, and that's convert prorenin into the renin. So the renin is the endocrine hormone because it's secrete into the blood. So the prorenin, if we will talk about, so the aldosterone is used for the uptake of sodium and water. With that mechanism we will discuss in the later in this video. So here is the prorenin which that is produced, and this prorenin will be the precursor of vasoconstriction. So how it's possible, next here we will discuss. So that is blood vessel. I am extending the blood vessel of the efferent arteriole. So the efferent, sorry, that is the efferent arteriole which that is I am drawing. But here is the basically you should understand about that things. So that is the efferent arteriole. If we will talk about that is the renin will go into the liver, and liver contain hepatocyte, and this hepatocyte is contain an enzyme, and this angiotensin produced from the renin. So the renin convert into the angiotensin 1. So this angiotensin is endocrinal system to release into the blood. That secretion is converted the angiotensin 1. So this angiotensin is go into the angiotensin converting enzyme receiving into the lungs. So the epithelial cell of the lung contain a receptor which that's contain a angiotensin converting enzyme. So this angiotensin converting enzyme will be produce the convert the angiotensin 1 into the angiotensin 2. So this angiotensin 2 is allowed to vasoconstriction in the presence of noradrenaline. So the noradrenaline is used for it. When adrenaline will be epinephrine will be slow, so the noradrenaline will be allow to vasoconstriction. So that blood vessel will be constrict, and that constriction is due to the epithelial cell contain blood vessel contain a smooth muscle which that is contract. So the increased blood pressure. And so why increase the blood pressure? Increase the blood pressure of the efferent arteriole for low the blood pressure in the efferent arteriole to absorb the ion. So here is the stop noradrenaline when vasodilation to feedback mechanism to control the blood pressure. So that's negative feedback mechanism. Allowed the inhibition of corticotropin releasing hormone, and this corticotropin releasing hormone will inhibit the production of adrenocorticotropic releasing hormone, adrenocorticotropic releasing hormone, which that is the corticotropin releasing which that go into the adrenals. So that stop. So I am extending more blood vessel. So for understanding, so this is the efferent arteriole, not efferent. So the efferent arteriole contraction is very important for reabsorption of the nephron. So that we are understanding the angiotensin system. So please focus on the angiotensin system, how it's work. So here is the adrenal gland which contain a medulla and cortex. So the vasoconstriction will be occur. So during the vasoconstriction, that here is the angiotensin 2. So this angiotensin 2 is the work as a ligand, and that's attached with the cortex of the adrenal gland, and this cortex of the adrenal gland to release the aldosterone. So that is the angiotensin 2 as a ligand, which that is the promotion of aldosterone. So the production of aldosterone is more when bound with the angiotensin. So this means aldosterone is a very important hormone which that is allowed to move water inside of the blood vessel, as well as sodium ion will also move into the blood vessel by the action of the aldosterone. So the aldosterone is very important to allow, so that is the basically efferent arteriole which that's contain and the backflow of the, so here is the basically efferent arteriole. So if we will talk about that, is the efferent arteriole is here is again and efferent arteriole. So there are many nephron is attached with the blood vessel. So that's blood vessel is look like this. So here is the nephron, is another nephron, for example, that is the efferent arteriole will be contract, and that's mean the efferent arteriole will be contract, the efferent arteriole will be create the low blood pressure for delaying the blood into the efferent arteriole. So the efferent arteriole will be allowed to move back the sodium ion, but potassium ion will move back into the into the nephron, so the collecting tubule which that is here, and water will be allowed to move absorption, that is reabsorption, that is known as reabsorption, and the reabsorption of sodium is also by the exchange of potassium ion. So that's potassium ion will move into the nephron, and that's excretion of the potassium and sodium increase. So the increasing of the sodium and water will retention of the sodium and water to allow the more fluid inside of the blood vessel to create the blood pressure more, and angiotensin is used for the creation of more, for the production of more blood pressure, so that's create the more blood pressure. So here is the angiotensin act to contract the efferent arteriole to relax at the same time by the uh, epinephrine, which that relax the uh, efferent arteriole for reabsorption more in the presence of aldosterone. So remember, aldosterone is used for the reabsorption and angiotensin 2 is used for the vasoconstriction. So that's antagonistically work the angiotensin and epinephrine. Epinephrine will delay it. So the maintain the extracellular fluid and electrolyte and balance by potassium excrete and sodium uptake to balance the blood uh, blood blood constriction of the iron and mineral, etc., and protein. So the albumin is also absorbed from it for reabsorption. So we will not talk about that things. We are just focusing on the angiotensin system. So here is the collecting duct which that collect the less amount of sodium and less amount of water and high amount of potassium, which that is the concentrated urine is excreted through the ureter into the bladder, and bladder will be ultimately released through the urethra. So here is the potassium was more and sodium was less, so the concentrated urine with reabsorb water, so that's a reabsorption of water, so that is the concentrated urine will be produced. So the whole mechanism we are understanding. So first of all we will discuss about the nicotine effect on the angiotensin system. So the nicotine contain two types of system, norepinephrine and epinephrine production. First of all, that is the norepinephrine will be produced. So this norepinephrine is the cortisol hormone which is produced from the medulla. So the medullary region will be increased by the promotion of nicotine to create the sympathetic nervous system. It means the fight and flight response to create the vasoconstriction. And after this vasoconstriction, the relaxation phase will be occur when the epinephrine will be produced. So this epinephrine will be vasodilation. So the vasodilation allow to more urination. So the fluctuation of the antagonistic workout of the nicotine in the sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system to increase the blood pressure and that's increase and decrease the blood pressure to allow the more filtration. So that's why the more urination will be occur, and that's a urination, and sodium and water will be decreased. Reabsorption. So the reabsorption of water and sodium will be decreased due to the more blood pressure. So the blood pressure will be rise to decrease the reabsorption. So it's the second a depressant, and the first is the stimulant. Stimulant means the vasodilation. So first of all, there's a vasodilation will be occur, and after all, there's a urination will be formed. And on the other hand, the second depressant is the depressant which that is the vasoconstriction, which that is what is the meaning of the angiotensin system or Renin's angiotensin system effects of the nicotine affect both. For example, when angiotensin 2 are present, on the presence of the norepinephrine work with the angiotensin 2 to constrict. So on the other hand, here is the alcohol, which that is the stimulant, which there's a vasoconstriction in efferent arteriole. So efferent arteriole is also not efferent arteriole will be used for the vasoconstriction to increase the blood pressure. And here is the endothelin 1 and 2 is produced by the alcohol stimulate to produce more endothelin from the endothelium to combine with the angiotensin 2, and there's all will be all will be used as a vasoconstriction. So the here is the vasoconstriction to allow the more blood pressure and polyuria, polydipsia, and filtration more, and blood pressure will be more. Why? Because it's a stimulator of the stimulator of the high blood pressure due to the vasoconstriction. But on the other hand, here is the filtration will be more. But on the other hand, that is the alcohol is also the positive stimulator of aldosterone for the using of reabsorption of sodium. So the reabsorption of the sodium into the blood vessel and water will create the more blood pressure. On the other hand, the renin is the drug is known as the renin inhibitor, which that inhibit the renin to blood pressure, rise the blood pressure. So that is the renin inhibitor used for the control high blood pressure. So the high blood pressure is the syndrome or symptom which that is the incorrect incorrect work of the renin angiotensin system or renin angiotensin aldosterone system. So here is the renin angiotensin system which that is uptake more sodium and more water. So that create the more positive effect of the blood pressure. When increase the blood pressure, so if the work is not correct, that's a negative feedback mechanism will be not follow into the corticotropin releasing hormone. So that's create the more heartbeat and more heart failure. So that is the kidney failure is due to the more blood pressure to burst the glomerulus due to the high blood pressure. On the other hand, the harmful effect is the diabetic person, which that is create the harmful effect. So the high blood pressure is the symptom which that is decreased by the control high blood pressure by the renin inhibitor, which the renin is the precursor of the blood pressure. So remember about that things. Renin is the precursor. So if we will talk about the high blood pressure, so the here we will discuss about the low blood pressure. When low blood pressure is due to the water and salt will be less uptake from the glomerulus to the efferent arteriole. So that's aldosterone will be decrease. So the aldosterone is decreased due to the decrease of the aldosterone. Basically, first of all, the aldosterone will be decreased. So the meaning of aldosterone decreasing is the less amount of the uptake of salt and water, so that's create the low blood pressure. So the low blood pressure is also symptom which that is a less amount of production of aldosterone due to the some pathophysiological uh, symptom. So here is the uptake more sodium, so that is why all thing is here done. We have understood about the renin angiotensin system. So the renin angiotensin system which regulate the blood pressure, which if we will talk about the high blood pressure due to the renin angiotensin system, that is the negative feedback. So the negative feedback to release the inhibit the ACTH of the kidney.